So how are you today, Connor?
Oh, I'm just great. Are we recording now?
Yes, we are.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good,
Uh,
good.
yeah, all moved in, readjusting to being at home.
I was gonna say,
It's a time.
because we were
Time.
talking before I hit record, you're a freshman in college now,
Yeah.
but during a pandemic, things are always changing. So how are you just kind of rolling with the punches and stuff, man? Because it's not, I know it can't be easy.
No, you have to adapt. There's a lot of adapting that has to be going on. Um, like at one point, all of our classes went online for like 3 or 4 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
just because our COVID cases got so high. It was one day, I think 25% of kids that were tested positive,
Wow.
which is crazy.
You haven't tested positive yet, have you? Or
No,
have you known of
no.
anybody, like any of your friends or anything, tested
A
positive
few
yet?
of my friends have, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have not. I actually got tested like this week and I was negative.
Good.
But yeah, no, it's crazy. So many people are getting it at my school, which isn't a surprise. It's like one of the highest ranked party schools like in the country. But
Same with my alma mater, Miami. Man, they're a big party school. So, I mean, I don't know anyone that goes to Miami anymore. I'm 6 years removed at this point, but at the same
yeah,
time, it's like I've seen the cases go up over there, and it's just like, man, I
isn't
don't know
Stanford a party school now?
what's that?
Isn't Stanford a party school now?
I believe so. I don't know. I haven't paid attention much to college since I graduated, honestly.
Yeah, I guess that would be a very me demographic type thing to know.
Yeah, I turned 30 this year, so I'm just kind of like, you know what? The thing I'm focusing on right now is just work and trying to stay healthy.
I'm gonna try to appreciate the time I'm in school because I don't want to have to like get a job and stuff. That sounds awful.
I'm
Sounds
gonna
terrible.
I'm gonna be honest. Like I miss my times in
Living a normal
college.
life. Oh,
It's weird. Like while I was in college, I'm like, you know what? It's not fun. But looking back, I'm like, I wish I could go back and just appreciate it more.
I'm not ready to live off of a meal plan.
Good, good,
I'm kind of enjoying the 13 a day I get. I mean 13 a week.
good. Yeah, yeah. I I mean, work's not so bad. It's. I mean, you get paid, obviously.
Yeah. No, that's one of the upsides.
Probably the only upside.
Yeah.
But you, good sir, I mean, I we already have already had an interview about Summerland, but I feel like now that I've played it, it's what's it like to almost be at the finish line now with this game?
Oh, it's awesome. It's so cool. Hey, is your audio like catching in my mic? I feel like every time you talk, I get see my cam like pop up green.
I can tell you, I can't really hear it.
Okay, that's fine.
There's been like one time where I heard myself, but it was so faint.
All
If
right, no
it,
worries. I'm just making sure it wasn't going to mess up the recording.
oh, you're good.
Um, yeah, no, coming up on release is incredible. Honestly, it's weird. You get this feeling every time I do one of these projects,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like when it was Welcome to the Dreamscape, there's this like buildup of excitement and also pure terror with releasing this game you've worked. I mean, with Summerland's case, all over a year, about a year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
probably more than that. Uh, just out to the public and saying, "Hey, you don't know all of the effort that was put into this. You critique it." And I will tell you, the Steam community is not good at sugarcoating things when it comes to their critiques of games. I don't know if you've ever
Yeah,
scrolled through a Steam review section. It's brutal. It gets
yeah.
brutal.
I was gonna
So
say that.
it's scary.
Have you given off like early copies of the game to people in the Steam community and have them
I
review it?
actually plan on doing that tonight.
Oh, okay.
I plan on sending out a lot. I did a lot of closed like early review copies. Like you got a review copy because you were kind of talking to me during the development process, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, here you go. Game's done." I sent it to a few other people, but I think tonight I'm going to start sending it out to like more public journals and such.
Mm-hmm.
Hope I get some more reviews. Hope those reviews are good. I think the reviews will be good.
I think they
Fingers
will be.
crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. There's a couple questions I had about the game and its
Okay.
development that kind of struck me. Well, first of all, did Welcome to the Dreamscape, did it have sound based on distance the way Summerland did? 'Cause I don't recall it having that.
I I'm trying to remember back
I
because
know.
I don't remember there being a situation where I was like, yeah, this needs to be like with distance.
Hmm.
Because there wasn't much 3D spatial audio going on. A
Right.
lot of like the character dialogue was through like intercoms and rooms and stuff. So there
Hmm.
wasn't that like if I turn this way, then the person's going to be over here, and if I'm this far away from the person, they're going to be talking from that far away.
Hmm.
And there wasn't a lot of situations like that. A lot of the audio was pretty 2D, and not just in the design, but like in the game itself, like
Hmm.
diatonically.
Yeah.
Um, but no, that was definitely something I wanted to implement a lot more because audio was a weak point of Dreamscape,
Hmm.
100%. I think I got it with this one.
I think so too. You absolutely nailed it because when you're in that first room, because that's not a spoiler, when you're in that first room
Yeah.
and or I should say the first trial, when you're speaking to his partner, Matthew's partner, and that was the first thing I noticed right out the gate, and I'm like, there's volume based on distance here. That it struck, and then that's something I tried testing out further as the game progressed and noticed it with just about everything. I'm like, this is awesome.
I remember when you messaged me when you first playing the game about the footsteps,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that was really funny because right before I had sent out that copy, are you familiar with the band Sleeping Lion?
I am not.
So one of their members, Nate Flax, I think that's a lot. It's either Falks or Flax. Either way,
Nate.
he did the sound design. He did the sound design for some of the footsteps. He did a few things aside from that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right before I had sent that to you, and I did an interview on his podcast as well. And I told him that when I gave you the review copy, the first thing you messaged me was how much you liked the footsteps.
Well, because uh, I think for Welcome to the Dream Sky, I think I mentioned it in the review. I think the reason why it stood out, it felt like the volume was kind of turned up in a way, and so it stood out. Like, and you heard them
Yeah.
over and over again. Whereas Welcome to the Dreams, or whereas Summerland, I felt like the volume on footsteps wasn't cranked all the way up, and then, um, you within the first 10 minutes, you hit like three or four different materials, and then so as soon as they changed, I was like, wait a minute, they changed, and so I like I literally was walking between two different, like between the grass and the cave in that first trial. I did it like a couple times just to make sure I wasn't going crazy.
No, one of my main goals with Summerland was detail.
Hmm.
I wanted to make it a very detailed game, and I wanted to have a lot of subtle things. I think the footsteps is one of those things. Just little things around the environment. I wanted to do that, like in that first open area, the forest. You could see like leaves falling from the trees.
Hmm.
If you like stop and actually pay attention, you can see dust particles everywhere in most places in the game, at least. Like little things on the ground, pictures of families and stuff
Hmm.
in rooms, and I think it adds a lot to the overall experience and narrative of the game.
It really does. I mean, because you really set the tone with that first trial, because when you don't have to enter in that house, but you can, and there's so much added to it when you do, because it's just one of those things that you don't need to go inside to progress the story. But if you want a little background of what's going on and all this other stuff, I'm like, that's what I was wanting from something like Welcome to the Dreamscape.
Yeah, I wanted to make a lot of optional stuff. Going into this game, I was thinking, Welcome to the Dreamscape was incredibly linear for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And Summerland is also very linear of a game.
Yes.
I don't think it's a negative. I
No,
don't remember
no.
if I've talked to you about this before on our last interview. I think linearity in games is seen too much as a negative nowadays, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone wants to make. I say everyone, like big studios for the most part, want to make these big, open world, expansive, live service type games.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like that's the market now. But there's more than one market when it comes to games,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a niche. It's not even a niche. It's like this big community that likes linear games,
Mm-hmm.
like God of War. That's not an open world game, but they made a single player, fairly linear game that sold tons.
Yeah. Or
And it
even
shows that there's people that want that.
yeah, absolutely. Even with something, because I felt like, you look at just your big studios like EA, Ubisoft. I feel like they're taking a lot of their main franchises and making them open world with a linear story built in, but it has an open world like around that story. But with
Yeah.
something like Star Wars or God of War or Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, like there's just those few times where these studios will make this linear experience and everyone loves it. Like everyone loves it, you know? And it's just like
Mhm.
why aren't we doing those again?
The with Summerland, I wanted to have that linear story because
Mhm.
with linearity in your story, that gives you control of pacing,
Mhm.
and I'm trying to put the best way to. It lets me tell the narrative I want to tell
Mhm.
without having all these factors influencing it. I wanted to make the environments explorable for sure. Each trial, you can go wherever you want, really. You can examine things. There's a lot of optional things to look at, and I made it so that these optional things may like give you hints on what to do later on
Mhm.
if you observe the right things. But
Yeah, I did
y-
notice that because in the second trial, you're at Matt's house, and there
yeah,
were keys in the same spot every single time,
hmm
which plays into much later on into the story. Because when he said, I
yeah.
have to grab my keys, I'm like, I know where to go now because I've noticed it every time I'm inside the house.
Even in that level, there's I'm trying to think of what I want to say without giving away too much of the level. But the last task you have to complete, I
Hmm.
guess, that guitar, if you like look at that before you need it, he'll like pretty much tell you that you're going to need it.
Hmm. I didn't notice that, um, but no, I did notice it because when that comes up later on, I do remember. It took me a second, like, what do I need? I'm like, oh wait, there's a guitar. Duh.
Yeah. But I wanted to do that for a lot of the game, and a lot of the game does function in that way. Like you may observe an item and you'll make like an odd comment about it, and then maybe 10 minutes later you'll have an objective that needs that item.
I
I
that
don't know
was
that was
very.
just something I thought was interesting to add in.
I was gonna say it's very small, but it helps a lot, especially when you're going through the game for the first time.
And I did listen to your criticism as well as the criticism of a lot of people playing this early build of the game. The hint system is done,
Good.
and it's
Okay.
actually updated in the game. If you want to test it out, you have the download code.
Sweet. Okay. I might do that later because I did notice. I think it was last night I booted up Steam and I saw there was an update for Summerland. I was gonna ask you what's in the new build.
Yeah, yeah. The new build basically is just the hint system got added, and I think yeah, I totally changed like the game support. This is something a positive and a negative. I've addressed it on other social medias, but I guess I'll say here too. The Mac build
Mm-hmm.
is kind of canceled.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so I don't have a Mac, so I can't really test anything out. I learned that a few months ago. It wasn't like a recent thing. Apple updated all of their software to no longer support 32-bit applications.
Mm.
And the engine I'm using to make the game, Unity, only outputs 32-bit Mac builds.
Wow. Okay. That makes
So
sense.
there's actually nothing I can do to make a Mac build of the game anymore. So that left in the newest update, but I did add like better support for 32-bit and 64-bit Windows builds.
Okay.
It
Very
was
nice.
just 64-bit, but it's yeah. I mean, I'm expanding a little bit in compensation.
That sucks, but also understandable. I mean, I
Yeah,
know at one point you were looking at console releases, but um, what's it like trying to like attempting to get something on console? Because you did mention that you don't have
yeah.
like the funds and stuff for it right now.
I can't afford it. I just can't do it, especially with the PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Xbox, I could foresee that happening. Like that's not super out of the realm of possibility.
Okay.
With PlayStation, on the other hand, I need a static IP address.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know a ton about what it is or what it does, but it's required I have one.
Okay.
Um, and those aren't cheap. Those don't come cheap. It's like $15 a month,
Yeah.
which is not something I can do right now.
Maybe in the future, right?
Maybe
Maybe.
in the future. If you know what, if I get enough donations on Summerland, maybe I'll look into a console release. But at the moment, um, yeah, I can't see that happening. I'm happy with the release I have right now.
I am too. Yeah, absolutely.
Like I don't think I need a console release for this. It's this market is very PC oriented, especially since it's a free to play game.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's releasing to a niche audience. This isn't a mainstream type of game, and I don't think it's something that everyone's going to be completely on board with just because it's like a walking sim.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that everyone's into, but I love those games. I think they're awesome.
To me, the thing about walking simulator games, I mean, I've played a couple that I haven't liked, like Dear Esther, for example, but when they hit, like they hit hard in so many different ways, especially like What Remains of Edith Finch, and I feel like Summerland is up there as well. That I will when I, 'cause I tell people all the time when they ask me what indie game should I check out, like I'll suggest What Remains of Edith Finch to people. Um, and I'll start doing something with similar to Summerland because I feel like the story is that good and the way it builds, and it was incredible to experience because you, sir, used a lot of
Sir.
ethical like philosophies that I
Yeah.
learned while I was in college, and it kind of took me like, oh yeah, I remember that, and so the way you explain it and stuff, I'm like, this is really cool. I like this.
Is this stuff you learned in college? Because I have not taken any of these classes.
What's that?
I was like, are these things that I will be learning in college? Because
Oh,
I didn't know that.
possibly. I don't know. I took an ethics class while I was in college. So that's probably why I kind of remember that stuff. But I still have my ethics book. It's sitting on my pile of college books in my closet. That's right off camera right now.
I got a lot of these philosophical ideas from watching The Good Place on Netflix.
Yes, yes, I love that show.
So that's like that I guess college too, you go
hmm
throw that in there, but TV shows.
There's nothing wrong. I mean, with that because I've learned a lot of stuff through movies, TV shows, video games. So I think the way you added it could possibly make someone curious about some of the more ethical philosophies and philosophers that are out there that you can learn from, which I thought was really cool.
And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you like recommending Summerland to people.
Oh no,
The
I've already
idea of
started. Like it's
the
not out
idea
yet,
of
but
my
trust me.
game being mentioned in the same breath as What Remains of Edith Finch is
hmm
unbelievable to me.
I do you have like contact info for those voice actors? Because I would love to talk to them as well.
I do. I can even ask them if they'd be willing to talk to you for like interviews and such.
Awesome, because we got the voice of Edith Finch, Valerie Rose Lohman, on our show.
Yeah.
She was absolutely amazing, and it's just one of those things. Like ever since that happened, I paid attention to her career, and I would love to see what happens, possibly maybe with some of the voice actors, like if they
The
do
voice
future
actor
work.
for Matthew,
hmm
if I'm not mistaken, this is his first game he's ever done.
That is incredible. He did a really good job because.
Yeah, he's very focused on the field of like audiobooks
hmm
and that kind of thing. He's actually British. I don't know if I told you that before.
No, he does
Yeah,
a
he's from the
really
UK.
good. Oh my gosh, he does a
I
very
didn't
good
even know
like
like through his
accent.
audition
hmm
until I like started talking to him, and I think I looked at his like demo reel, and it was a bunch of like British commercials.
He does a really good American
No, he
accent.
does. It's awesome. Then Evelyn is actually she does a lot of stuff in games. I don't know if you've ever played the game Stick It to the. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
If you've ever played the game Stick It to the Man, but she voices a few characters in that.
Okay.
Uh, she's a character in Paladins as well.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember which character.
Okay. Okay, I
She's in
have
a
played Paladins.
yeah, she's in a Deus Ex spin-off game as well.
I own all of those games, but I have yet to play them.
It's like Deus Ex like Fallen something.
Okay.
I don't remember what it is. It's not one of like the mainline ones, but it's a Deus Ex game.
Okay. Very nice.
The judge, the guy on the phone.
hmm
I don't know how familiar you are with like social media or I guess TikTok. Really, his name is Ryan Beard. He's a TikTok comedian.
Oh, okay. Very
He
nice.
was on America's Got Talent a few years back.
Wow, that's impressive. Did you do well? I don't watch that show very often.
His first audition got passed.
Okay.
He got past the first audition. The second one, it was all right.
hmm
He didn't move past it, but I was a fan. I think he could have done better. I've seen him do better.
hmm
I think he just had like an off performance.
It happens. Yeah.
No, he's a really funny guy. He does a series called Unmotivational Monday. It makes me laugh every time.
He did it.
It
Yeah, he
basically
did it
tells you why you should
fantastic.
hate your life every Monday.
I'll have to check him out because he did a good job as well. Because
Mhm.
I mean, especially for a game where his role, he's really talking to someone without literally anybody responding to him. Which I
Yeah, no.
thought the dialogue was very clever, the way it was written around that too.
I was initially going to voice that character. That was because I've been a voice in every single game I've made so far, and that was going to be my role. And then he reached out and he was like, "Hey, I want a voice in this." I was like, "Oh,
Oh, so he actually
you
reached
would
out to
definitely do
you.
better than I would."
That's so you didn't ask him; he asked you.
Yeah, no, he reached out to me first in like the comment section of one of my like social media posts. He was like, I would really like to be in this. And I was like, okay. He said it's his first big acting role. Um, I guess a lot of these, I say a lot. There's only four actual
Yeah.
voices in the game. Uh, no, the main, like the two leads basically have never done anything like this before, which I think is crazy.
It's incredible. So the guy who plays like the bad guy, I can't remember his name.
Charlie.
Charlie, yes. So
Yeah.
he done voice acting work before then?
Yeah, I'd say him and the girl who plays Evelyn are the two most like veteran voice actors.
Okay.
It's I don't want to say his name because I feel like I'm going to mispronounce it, but Gerhard Schreiber
Okay.
is his name. Actually don't know a lot of his past work. I don't know. My phone's my webcam. I was going to look up some of the stuff he's done. So
Gotcha.
I know he's been in stuff before. I can't think off the top of my head though.
All right, I'll definitely look him up because for the few, because he doesn't have a whole lot of, I guess, screen time per se, but the
No.
parts he's in, he has a very unlikable character, but in a good way.
I tried to make him memorable. I didn't want to make you like side with him very much, but I
Yeah.
wanted you to like remember his voice and remember who he was when you finished the game.
Yes,
I
you
won't even call
definitely
him a
do.
bad guy. I don't even think I consider him a villain.
I guess not. He's trying to get through the world just in his own way, just like Matthew is.
Like if anything, I would.
Because
Nah,
there's a
I'm not gonna
small,
say it.
well,
I'm
there's a
not
small
gonna
bit that kind of
spoil it.
redeems him in a way that puts him in the same shoes as Matthew. I feel like,
Yeah,
but
there's one moment.
yeah.
If
So
you got that, it was an optional moment.
yeah, oh, I got that.
Okay. There's a lot of things I added. I keep going back to like these different side tangents. I apologize.
Oh, you're fine.
Um,
It's completely off the
there
cuff. I have nothing planned.
in like that subtlety aspect I was pushing towards. I also wanted a lot of story stuff to be very subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Like that Charlie moment, that's one of them. And to anyone listening to this is going to make zero sense until you play the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
When
exactly.
I like to call the Charlie moment, um, you learn a lot and it recontextualizes a lot of the story up until that point
Mm-hmm.
that you won't know unless you look at like one thing. Um, it's not essential to understanding the plot of the game. I don't want to hide essential plot details like that. I remember there was like a point in Outlast 2, if you've ever played it.
I've only played the
Uh,
first one so far.
there's a point in Outlast 2. The story is interesting,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't know what's happening unless you read one note that's like
Oh,
hidden
dang.
away somewhere.
Okay.
And it makes the story make no sense if you don't read it.
I hate it
I
when
didn't
because
want to do
that's
anything
that.
like that.
I hate it when developers do that because that's what Bungie did with Destiny with a lot of their like story stuff. Like you have to go out of your way to find it, and I hate
I,
that.
I got Destiny when it first came out, and the gameplay was awesome. The
Mm-hmm.
game itself was awesome, but I just hated the story.
I completely agree with you.
I couldn't keep playing. I like got halfway through, I think, and I was done.
It doesn't motivate you to keep going. Like
No.
it literally doesn't. And I remember because when that first game first came out, it took me forever to get through it. And then when I got friends to play with it, it made it better, but it forced me to play through the story. And I'm like, I hate doing this because
Mm.
this story means nothing to me.
I didn't know who any character was.
They come and they leave. I mean, they've
Yeah.
now that Destiny 2's out, like they've made them like essential characters with all this like lore and
Yeah,
backstory
I heard
stuff.
that Destiny 2 pulled a No Man's Sky.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm gonna be revisiting it anytime soon, even though it's free. I think I have it
Okay,
on my Steam right now,
there you go. Yeah,
but I
it's
can't bring myself to play it again.
story's good. Though the base story is good. The expansions they're very hit and miss after that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I heard the expansions like really improved upon it. I didn't know. I haven't researched much. It's not like I'm up to
gotcha.
date on like the Destiny news, but
The first two expansions were garbage. Then there's the one that's essential to Nathan Fillion's character Cade. That becomes good again, and then they went
wait,
back
wait,
to
Nathan Fillion is in Destiny 2?
yeah. He plays one of the main
I had
characters.
no idea.
Yeah, he's in the first one as well, but you would never know because he has very little screen time in the first one.
Oh, that's funny. I had no idea it was in that.
Yeah. So, um, but
Oh
yeah,
wait, no, I was talking about the like the subtle like details in the
yeah.
story.
We
There was
got
another one I wanted to talk about, and I don't know if you noticed it. I kind of added. I like to call it like a secret twist.
okay.
There's a kind of twist ending in it. and it's only in 2 lines of dialogue.
Is it optional?
No,
No.
it's from the guy on the phone.
At the very end?
Yeah. I don't want to spoil too much,
I
but
know.
there's a point
I'm trying
that
to get like.
references reality.
Okay, I did not pick up on that.
Okay.
I'd have to play it again.
I can also talk to you more about it after the
Okay.
interview, but I definitely want people to try to find it themselves
If you
and
want to,
check
I
it out.
can. You can say it. I can just cut it out. Gosh, I'm trying to be very vague, so I don't have to keep cutting things out.
It's hard to talk about this game without discussing the story in too much depth because that kind of is like the main draw of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like we could talk about the incredible gameplay here.
Well, I was thinking like if I when I tell people to go play like Edith Finch or Firewatch, I just tell them go play it because I can't talk about it until you play it, and that's
Yeah,
very
I know
much this
it's so
game.
hard to recommend like walking sim type games because by their design, I don't think you could call them fun.
So I was having a discussion on Twitter with someone. They're like, gameplay equals fun, and I'm like, I don't know if that's true or not because there are games where that aren't necessarily fun as far as gameplay is concerned, but I still have fun playing them. If that makes
I
sense.
think I don't think, and this is going to sound super pretentious, just a fair warning. I don't think Summerland is fun.
That's I could see that.
I
Yes.
think I think you'll enjoy it,
Yes.
but I don't think it's something you'll say like recommend as being a really fun game to play.
I would see. I recommend it only because there are a lot of people out there that think games should always be fun. They don't have to necessarily like a movie doesn't have to be necessarily fun for you to still enjoy it. You know?
Yeah, yeah, no. I say like I don't want to use terminology mostly because The Last of Us 2
Mm-hmm.
did that a ton, and I kind of hated how much they hammered it in.
Did you play it? Because I think last time we spoke, you
I
hadn't
did.
played it yet.
I did. Like Neil Druckmann, like in a lot of interviews, was like, "We didn't design The Last of Us 2 to be fun." That doesn't work in that case because there's actually gameplay that's supposed to be fun in that game, and it is
Right.
grim for Greta. But um, no, I don't think Summerland is something you could consider fun. I think you'll really like it. This is going out to people listening right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll really like it. I think you'll very much enjoy it. Um, I don't know what to say after that.
I will say there was one thing I almost regretted doing but you force it on the player to do, and
Mhm.
it deals with.
I know exactly what you're
Okay.
talking about.
Okay. Good. And I was like, I don't want to do this, but I mean, I like that you forced people to do it though. At the same time.
Yeah, I'm linking. I like to link things back to The Last of Us because that is one of my favorite games of all time, and it's been a huge inspiration on how I write my stories and how I like make my games basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the ending of The Last of Us, and if it's okay, I'm going to be spoiling The Last of Us. It's like what 7 years old at this point.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
far enough removed. We are far enough removed from it to spoil it.
Okay. So yeah, The Last of Us first one ends with you saving Ellie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, you've played The Last of Us, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, making sure I wasn't spoiling it for you. I didn't
No.
actually make sure to check on that. Yeah, so Ellie's like the cure for the whole virus. They're going to have to kill her to make a vaccine that will save humanity, and you have to save Ellie and like sacrifice the world, basically. Um, and you don't get to choose that. You have to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a big criticism I actually heard when the game was new, was that I wish there was a choice here. I don't think it would make sense for there to be a choice because that's kind of narratively what the theme of the game
Mm-hmm.
is like the bond between them. And if he were to have sacrificed Ellie, it would have contradicted the themes of the game, basically. There's a lot of things like that at hand as in Summerland. I think forcing you to do that thing that
Mm-hmm.
you've referenced is very important with the themes of the game, with morality and not exactly asking yourself what is right and wrong, but more so asking why is right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that also comes into play with other choices that you make in the game. I did read about that in your review,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I do see that being a criticism people are going to have with the game is a lot of the choices. But thematically, I think I like it the way it is
That makes sense.
in terms of fitting with the themes of the story.
And the one thing I noticed, because gosh, I don't want to get too much into the choices that you
It's
make.
difficult. It's really
Yeah,
difficult.
but by the ending, um, it was definitely one of those things because whenever I play games like this, I always try and take a step back and think about what you as the designer and developer are trying to say. And like I said, it took me back to college and in a way, in a good way, and like making me think, man, I haven't thought about that kind of stuff. It seems like in a while, and I think people in general in this current climate that we're in, it would be some. It's a good way for someone to look at themselves and ask themselves some hard questions as well on not just why, but not just what is right and wrong, but like you said, why do we
Yeah.
have the consciousness that we have today? Like, how can we judge someone based on what maybe only you're seeing certain actions? Because, like, Evelyn, I feel like judges Matthew harshly without knowing the whole story.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I'm really glad you liked the game as much as you did. That makes me very happy.
I
I
you
made
did a
this
good
without
job.
having any idea what people were going to think about it.
Hmm.
I
So
think it's a fairly unique game
so you
in
did
terms
the
of
writing yourself as well, right? Like,
yeah.
okay. So when you're writing something like this, do you do much research, or is it more um, you have a outline and you just kind of condense and expand from there?
This was a lot more research than I've put into any of my other stories. Mostly because of the ethical philosophy stuff. I wanted to make sure I got it as right as I could, being a high school student.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was watching The Good Place with the scenes with Chidi and Eleanor. I don't know if you've seen the show, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With the scenes with Chidi and Eleanor, talking to her about like Immanuel Kant and Jeremy Bentham, and I thought that stuff was super interesting. I thought it was crazy interesting, so I kept looking up stuff about it, and I like went down this YouTube rabbit hole of just ethical paradoxes. I was like, "This is awesome," and I want to make a game with this in it.
That's awesome. That's what I do with games or just media in general. When someone, I didn't do it with The Good Place, but I've done it with other games and movies as well, where something is mentioned or happens, whether it be a historical event, a person, maybe it's a philosopher of some sort, and then it makes me go research that thing, and I'm like, man, that's actually true, and what they were, and then it makes that whole medium, which whatever I'm experiencing, I believe it expands it on a whole nother level.
Yeah, I'm the type of person that if I find something that like interests me, I immediately learn everything about it.
I same, and say what you want, but I learned a lot of history through like the Assassin's Creed games that I
Oh,
didn't
I've
learn.
heard a ton of people that do that.
Yeah, it's incredible like how much you learn through something that's fictional, how much
Mhm.
nonfiction it's based on still.
Also, I just this is this going up in like video form?
Yeah.
I just realized that it looks like I'm like half asleep this whole time because like you're right here and my camera's right here.
Gotcha. So I purposely have you right below my camera. So I'm looking at the screen where my camera is. So I'm just looking just maybe about an inch below the
Yeah,
camera.
I promise I'm awake. Yeah, I'm right here, but I have to look at you right here, and it looks like my eyes are drooping down.
You're good.
What were we talking about again? I totally just sidetracked the whole
uh,
conversation.
Mediums making us research things. And I
Yeah,
do feel like Summerland will do that with some people
uh-huh.
that are like us.
I've been doing that with music a lot. I've been finding like musical artists I really like, and then learning like all the bandmates' names, when they formed, all of their past band names, like their entire discography. Like that's what I do.
I
I get really into
same.
things I like.
So I will say this, I love the Borderlands franchise, especially
Yeah.
especially the second one.
Hmm.
And the one thing I look forward to those games is the intro, because the first one had Cage the Elephant like before
Yeah.
they were big, and I'm like, and that's like, I do that with music too. Like it's just one of those things how
Wasn't the second one the Heavy?
the Heavy, yes, and I've
Yeah.
seen them live, and they are fantastic
No, the
live.
Heavy's an awesome band.
Yeah, they're incredible, super underrated.
I forget the second one.
The intro,
I mean the pre-sequel.
or
That's
the
what I mean.
pre-sequel, that one had the Vines and somebody else. It had two different bands to do the intro.
I don't remember that.
Because I remember it was different, but it was two different songs and two different bands, and I'm like,
I
oh,
I
cool.
did the same thing with did you ever play Tales from the Borderlands?
Yes.
I'm continually adamant that that might be Telltale's best game.
I agree, and that's just not because I love Borderlands, because they've done all kinds of stuff and they're all
Like
good.
there's The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us, which are
Hmm.
way up there, but I think Tales from the Borderlands is slept on so much. Like that's up there with those two.
I agree, wholeheartedly agree.
But I found like a ton of bands from the intros to the different episodes of Tales from the Borderlands.
They did a good job capturing the feel of Borderlands, and
Yeah, like Jungle, the band Jungle, I
mhm.
found from that game, and then I found James Blake from that game, who's like huge now.
It's weird how that happens sometimes. And
Like James
I
Blake is huge, as in like he's like a major pop star at the moment.
oh really?
Yeah, yeah. No, have you not like? Do you
Mm,
not know James Blake much?
not much, no.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't like super small when Tales from the Borderlands came out, but he
Hmm.
wasn't as mainstream as he is now. And they used his like hit song Retrograde for one of the episodes. And I was like, this song's amazing. And I found him as an artist. And then he went on to like write songs with Beyonce and then had like this like hit album come out. And now linking back to The Good Place, what's the one girl in The Good Place? The one that was like a princess?
Oh,
What's her name?
she's British, and she's,
Yeah.
oh, I
I think
can't
her
think
name.
of her name
Uh,
right now.
her
Because
and James
Jamila
Blake
Hill
are a
is her
couple.
actress, so I can't think of her actual name or her character's name though. But it's
Yeah.
Jamila
She
Jamil.
dates James Blake.
Oh, really?
To link the two, yeah.
That I didn't know that. Tahani. I just googled it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But no, James Blake became like a huge artist after that.
That's that's awesome. That's incredible. I love it when people that have um maybe they're not popular, or but like you feel the talents there and you love
Uh-huh.
them, and but when they make it big, like I feel great for them. Like it's about time people start noticing that person.
I feel like a lot of people hate that.
I
And that
do,
never made
yeah.
sense to me.
Yeah, me neither.
I liked them before they were popular. No, they're popular now, so I don't like
I
them
don't
as
like them
much.
anymore.
Like, I don't get that.
There's a band I've been dying to make it big. They're called Run River North. They're an all Asian group based out of LA, and they're um me and my sister saw them because they opened for, gosh, now I can't remember the name of the band. They're a classic 90s band.
It's a 90s band.
Hold on. The Goo Goo Dolls. They opened for the Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh, okay.
And ever since then, I'm like, me and my sister are like, why haven't they just made it big yet? Like, you're just, it's just one of those things I hope, I still hope they
There's
make it.
so many groups like that for me. There's one, I don't even know if they're together anymore. They're from Morgantown, West Virginia.
Oh, okay. Local to
They're
you.
they had yeah, they went to WVU, I think, and they made one album.
Hmm.
The band was It's Birds, and the album was called My Bloodless Wife. I've listened to that album so many times. It's an amazing album. And I don't know if they're together anymore because that was like over a decade ago, I think. And they
Wow.
have zero social media presence.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like they're around anymore, but I will definitely check them out though, because I mean, I love I love bands. Because a friend of mine just showed me a band that was local to here where we live in Dayton, Ohio, that aren't together anymore. I'm like, man, I wish I could have seen them.
How did we start talking about music? How did that conversation start? I don't mind it.
That's a good question, because I can bring it back to Summerland. Like, who did the
Oh, I
music for
don't
the
care. I
game?
love music. I could talk about music for like 3 hours on this episode if you need me to.
Well, by the way, speaking of music, because I listened to your interview with Katie,
Yeah,
and you mentioned that, which I didn't know this, you played instrument and you play music.
I do. That's true.
How long have you been playing?
I don't know if I could like pinpoint a moment because I know I like took lessons for guitar in second grade and I hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I just had a bad teacher. I
That
remember
could
he'd
be
show
it.
up late all the time. It was kind of comedic looking back at it. But I just stopped taking lessons because I hated it and I ended up teaching myself, which was a lot easier.
Yeah.
I can't really pinpoint a time I actually started teaching myself. I'll say like 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the soundtrack to Summerland.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
So even more questions. So
Okay.
there's random music that plays in the background sometimes, like
Mhm.
because there's a radio there or the record player that's inside Matthew's house. Did you do that music as well, or did you grab it from somewhere or
I
have
did that
friends?
as well. That
Dude,
those two you referenced aren't Summerland originals though. Those are actually
okay.
just my music,
Oh, okay.
uh, kind of thrown in as Easter eggs. The
Very
one with the
nice.
record is from my album that's like out right now. It's been out for a few, a bit over a year. Like that's kind of a joke because Matthew says like I always hated this band. I never understood it.
Well, I did like that because I'm like, I wonder if this is a real band or not. Because I was listening, because I was jamming to it when I first played it.
Yeah, the record on there, like on the counter, is the cover to the album that it's from.
That's awesome.
It's like the actual album.
I'll have to go check it
And then
out now. Now that I know that.
the one on the radio in the bar is like a work in progress instrumental for an upcoming album.
Okay, that's awesome, dude. That's incredible. What's the name of the band?
It's just me.
Oh, it's just you. Okay,
Yeah, it's called. I hate saying it in interviews because I you can't spell it just from the name. It's Auric Echoes.
okay. And how do you spell it
Um,
for anyone that might be listening?
Auric Echoes.
Okay. And
It's like kind of a word.
mm-hmm.
Like Apple doesn't recognize it as a word in like text messages because it puts the red underline under it, but it has a definition on Google.
I wonder if Android has it as
I don't know, it means golden basically.
okay.
My what's this relation? It's my stepdad's stepdad. How do you
Step
relate that to me?
grandfather?
Like
Step grandfather? I don't know.
step grandfather? Yeah, I don't know, but he was in a band in high school, and I had no idea. Brought out this yearbook and started showing me during Christmas or Thanksgiving one year.
hmm
And it was so cool. It was him in like this white suit and those big like 50s guitars,
Nice.
playing for a high school show or something. It was very of the era. And they were called the Golden Echoes Band. And I was like, I'm gonna name my band that. And I looked it up, and it was like a gospel group in Georgia or something. I
Gotcha.
was like, all right, what are some synonyms for golden? And I found Auric out there, and I was like, that sounds cool. So yeah, my band name is Auric Echoes.
I like it. It sounds good to me.
And it's always a pain telling people that name because they can't search it afterward.
Well, anyone listening can easily search it because now you've spelled it and now they know.
Yeah, but it's a fun project to
hmm
do when I'm not making games. Those are like my two main things: is I make games and then I like alternate making games and music.
hmm Have you performed around West Virginia yet at all? Like
I
maybe
haven't.
small
I'd
places?
love
Okay.
to. I would absolutely love to, but I have no idea how to go about it because a lot of these arrangements I'm recording take like 8 people to do,
Gotcha.
and I'm yeah, I'm performing it, but I'm layering it over my own recordings.
hmm
So I actually don't know how I'd perform it live without a band.
I'm sure you will find a way or find some people.
Yeah, I'm planning on starting a project with I say it's just me. Auric Echoes is me plus my drummer.
hmm
Um, it's like I record this track and I send it to him and I'm like, hey, this needs a percussion track. And he records something that's way better than the rest of the song because he's a phenomenal drummer.
Is he
um, was that
is he older than you, same age as you, younger?
same age?
Oh,
Both
nice.
freshmen. Yeah.
Very nice.
Amazing drummer, but we plan on doing something, just the two of us, like to play live around town, which would be a lot of fun if COVID wasn't a thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's the other thing. I
Yeah.
miss concerts so much.
Oh, I know. I got to see Tom York like right before COVID hit. I
That's
don't know if you've
nice.
ever listened to Tom York at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Awesome stuff. But I got to see his tour in Pittsburgh, like right before quarantine. It was perfect timing.
I'm trying to think. Have I seen Tom York? I know who he is.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I've seen him or not. I may have. Right before COVID though, I saw the band I mentioned earlier, Run River North, but it was my
Yeah.
third time seeing them in Columbus.
What type of music is that? Run River North.
They're like how do I don't know how
That
to
might be one to
describe them.
look up.
They're alt rock, but I mean alt rock consists of so much
Yeah, that's a
nowadays.
very umbrella term at this
Yeah.
point.
Um the way I describe it to people is that warm feeling inside that feels like the sun is inside of you. That just I don't know, just when you're absolutely happy.
like folk rock almost, or like folk punk.
No, it's not folky. I don't. They're just super wholesome, and I don't know how to. Okay, the Beatles in their later years is how I would describe
Okay,
them.
psychedelic almost.
Almost, yeah, but
Yeah.
not. I would not quite, but
Okay.
just in that vein though. They use a lot of. I don't know. I don't know how to describe that. It's just I don't know how to describe them. just
That's when you
just
know
listen
it's
to
an
them.
interesting band.
Yeah,
Is
just
when
go
someone
listen
has a
to
genre and you're like, ah.
And it's right now it's three people, and they when they tour they have a fourth because they technically don't have a drummer, but they employ a fantastic female lefty drummer, which you don't see that combination almost ever, and she's amazing as their drummer. Um,
That's awesome. Man,
but
I want to perform live. I want to figure out how to do that. That'd be so much fun.
I I see. I play like drums and piano. I don't know if you can see it, but my drum set is right over there. It's
I can
a
kind of.
it's an electric drum set.
Yeah.
I don't play it very often, but there are times where I look at it and I'm like, I wish I played more because I want to know that feeling of playing live just one time. You know?
I was playing right before you called me. I have my guitar like sitting right here.
Oh, nice. Is that your the guitar you play on mostly?
On what?
That you play mostly? Like, do you have multiple guitars?
Oh yeah, this one is this is my like usual one. It's a modern player Telecaster. And then over here, no, I'll grab it because it's relevant to the interview.
Okay.
This is the guitar I played on Summerland.
Okay.
Like whenever you hear an acoustic guitar in Summerland, like this is it.
I knew it was acoustic. That's all I knew about guitars. I could tell the difference between the sound.
Yeah. Um, Almost the entire soundtrack was recorded on this guitar, and plus like synthesizers and stuff. Also, if you're out there listening, the soundtrack is available to stream whenever the game comes out.
Oh, so in a couple weeks.
Yeah, yeah. The second, December 2nd.
I'll have to keep my because I did really enjoy the soundtrack. I did
I'm glad.
mention it in the review, like it was simple but effective at like conveying the
I want it to
emotion.
be very drony, ambient, kind of just mood music.
Mm-hmm.
I think a key to good ambient music is that it has to be as interesting as it is ignorable.
That's an interesting take, and I like the way you phrased it.
I heard that on it was some sort of like video documentary on YouTube. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like Alpha Media or something.
Gotcha.
But it's yeah, I they said like a key to good ambient music is if you're listening with like intent, it has to be interesting enough to keep your attention. But if you're listening passively, it has to fall into the background. And I
Makes
was kind of
sense.
going for that with Summerland.
I would have to say you were effective at it because the first time I think the first time you hear music is when you enter trial one. I think I don't
Yeah.
remember. Yeah, and
Single guitar chord.
yeah, and I'm like, I like that because, and then there's a couple times where a guitar chord also plays when you like do a task, and I'm like, I
Mhm.
like that.
That's Discovery 1, I think the song. And then
I,
there's one that's like more of a synthy, like bells type sound. That's Discovery 2.
and I did notice as well when Matthew is experiencing
Hmm.
his issues, um, that there's a snare in the background, like
Yeah.
it just adds to the whole like scene that's happening in that moment.
That song is a lot more intense if you like strip away a lot of the in-game sounds like the heartbeat and Matthew's breathing and everything.
Hmm.
There's like I one of the layers of the song, I literally have my guitar and I take a pick and
Hmm.
I'm just like
It
into the mic
that
and
it
like
works.
heavily distorted and reverbed.
Hmm.
And there's like a kick, like a super heavy kick drum, loud snare, down-tuned guitar. It's kind of a frightening track.
It really is because
it's it's one of the most like intense in the soundtrack. It's called Sickness.
it's I mean,
A fitting title
yeah,
for the
fitting
game.
title, and it stresses you out also like while it's happening.
And it's longer than you probably heard.
Okay, yeah, because
I assume you didn't let that run on for like 3.5 minutes.
no, not at all. Because I'm like, I might die if I let this go on.
Yeah, the track's a bit longer than I think most people will hear in the actual game, and I think it's worth a listen because it changes a bit throughout.
Okay.
It keeps that like kick drum heavy snare pattern, but with a lot of like additions and subtractions from the other tracks.
Okay.
It was one of my favorites from the soundtrack to make.
Well, when I realized it was more, because I thought it was just kind of like ambient sound that was happening, the first time it happened, and then I think it was the second time it happens in Trial 2 is when I noticed it was actual music on top of that.
Mm.
That was kind of layered underneath like the breathing and the heartbeats and stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I'm more proud of. Another one I really liked was the one that Matthew sings himself.
Did you write that song?
Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Because
Uh,
I kept meaning like I wonder if this is a real song. Because I kept meaning to like Google the lyrics to see if it was a real song or not.
That song comes out in a week, actually.
Okay,
I'm releasing that one next Friday.
when this interview drops. Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Everyone listening, go check it out. It's called Joseph's Song
Okay,
on Spotify, wherever.
and
There's a Joseph's Song, and the B-side is Joseph's Song instrumental reprise, which
I
you hear in the credits of the game.
okay. I did not mind because I hate going through credits a lot of times unless there's a really good song at the end. And so I definitely like sat there and listened both times as the credits rolled through.
Yeah, the one that you played to the Joseph, your son in the game, it's it's very simple and it kind of has to be because of how it's being portrayed in the game. It's just the character playing and singing.
Okay.
But then the instrumental reprise is that it's still simple. It's very warm, sweet. It's that acoustic guitar played a bit slower, some chimes in the background, like kind of wind chimes, but a lot lighter, twinklier. Forest sounds, some light synthesizer.
Okay.
I had a very heavy Last of Us 2 influence on the soundtrack.
Okay.
Have you played Last of Us 2? Yeah, right?
Not yet. No, I haven't played the
Not
second
yet.
one yet. No. Not
The
yet.
soundtrack's a bit different than the first one.
In a good way?
Depending on who you ask.
Okay.
I really liked it, but I'm also a really big fan of electronic stuff.
Gotcha.
The first one was what was the guy's name? Gustavo something that did the first soundtrack.
I'd have to
Uh,
Google it. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Phenomenal soundtrack, amazing game soundtrack. Him and someone else did the second game soundtrack. So I had two composers. It was him and a guy who did electronic music.
Okay.
Uh, and there's a lot of like intense drone synthesizer in it. And I liked the combination of acoustic guitar and strings and stuff with those droney synthesizer elements.
Mm-hmm.
Very dark, ambient. I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to do that for Summerland, and I think it fits the tone well.
I think
Yeah,
so.
thank you very
So far,
much.
so far, if you, I, I was I had something in my head and I completely forgot it. So with Summerland, I'll just switch gears then.
Okay.
With Summerland, are you gonna make any more maybe updates to it down the road, or this is it? It's done. What's done is done, and maybe some bug fixes, and that's it.
What do you mean by updates?
So there is a game I played recently. Oh, and I know we talked about it last time. It's another walking sim. I can't think of it right now off the top of my head. Tales from Off Peak City.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um, the creator actually added some stuff to it recently. He's
yeah.
like
Okay.
the overall story is the same, but he like added more tasks for you to do in the game.
Oh,
That
okay.
are optional. So I don't know if you were gonna do that as well or not.
Likely not. I think the game as it is done, and I don't think there's much I can add to it that would improve the experience much. Um, I have toyed around with the idea of a DLC in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I think DLC can be a good thing if it's handled in the right way. Like cosmetics and stuff for DLC, no. But if I'm doing like a story expansion that
Mm-hmm.
changes a lot of what you previously experienced, I think it works well. Plus, it's a free game, so
Yeah.
add-ons. I toyed around with the idea of DLC. Not sure if it'll ever happen. Nothing's in development at the moment.
Okay.
Uh, I've thought about sequels, doing like a Summerland 2 in the future. No ideas for it if I ever did. I have no games planned, by the way.
Okay.
Like I finished Summerland and I have nothing planned in the way of game development at the moment. If I do a Summerland 2, it'll probably be like entirely new characters
I could see that
because
because
I don't think I could go anywhere else with where I left Summerland.
not necessarily. Yeah, you would have. I mean, you'd have to bring back the guy that's on the phone. You could bring him back, but I think that's the only returning character you could technically have.
I don't think I'd have him return either.
Really?
I think I would have like an entirely new cast of characters
Okay.
because in my head, Summerland depiction of the afterlife is it's comedic in a way.
Yeah.
The game was initially going to be a bit more comedic than it is now. It was also going to have a bit more horror elements than it does now. But my initial idea was that the person talking on the phone was kind of like an office job guy
Mm-hmm.
in the realm of the afterlife. He kind of just does this as a job. I imagine him sitting at a desk in like a white shirt and tie and khakis,
Fair enough.
kind of forced to do this all the time. And if I were to do another Summerland, I think it would be a opposite personality. Like the phone guy in Summerland's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, but I loved him though for that.
Yeah, I wanted him to be like a funny jerk. I think if I did a Summerland 2, I'd make it like the sweetest person imaginable that just makes you do awful things. Like a Dolores Umbridge
I was gonna
of
say
the afterlife.
okay, or I was gonna say like maybe even like Janet-esque, like in The Good Place. I mean, she's not a bad person, but
Yeah.
she's I,
I again, this is all just like ideas I've thrown around. I have no plans on making a second game. This is just theoretically if I ever did for some reason.
because I do remember listening to that interview with Katie. You said you had nothing in development, so I wasn't gonna ask about future games you have ideas for,
Nah,
because I know you don't have anything right now.
I have nothing.
I mean, you've got plenty of time now. We're in a pandemic. You got
Yeah.
time to think about it, but I mean, no pressure either. Enjoy this
Yeah,
release while you can.
I have no idea where I even want to go with game development after this. I like doing the walking simulator type stuff. I've toyed around with the idea of working in 2D a bit,
Mm-hmm.
trying to make something in that regard. I like the artistic stuff.
I've
That
noticed.
sounded kind of pretentious. I'm not saying like other games aren't artistic. I just mean the more like abstract um, art of it. Um,
I know
I
what
kind of
you
want to
mean.
continue doing that. I
Yeah,
like it a lot.
you have a real talent for it because I can't. I can say that not everyone does, and it doesn't. Uh,
Thank you.
like for example, like I said, Dear Esther, I feel like it was too abstract, and I didn't enjoy it. If that makes
I
sense.
I didn't like the rest of either. But you know, I give it a pass because that was kind of the start of walking simulators. That was like the
Yeah,
first one, basically.
yeah, and it started that whole genre and niche, but at the same time, it was like because it got praised everywhere. So when I finally played it, I'm like, this isn't for me. And I've played other walking
Definitely
sims
not
since then.
praised now.
No, no, not because other ones have in its place have just totally knocked it
Like
out the
blown it out of
park.
the water completely.
Yeah, yeah.
Gone Home was the one that really like set the bar at the time.
That I remember playing that. I think I got it off a Humble Bundle, and I was not expecting it to be as good as it was.
I remember I was really young, probably too young to be watching anything related to Gone Home. There's a lot of bad words.
I
um,
I want to say it was a freshman in college myself. I think no, 2013. I just looked it up. I was um a junior.
I remember I watched Jacksepticeye play it, and that was my like experience with Gone Home.
It is great. Are you gonna have? Are you gonna try and get maybe some streamers or YouTubers to try and play through
Oh yeah,
Summerland?
of course. My main goal with game development, not really, but I like to say my main goal with game development is to have either Jacksepticeye or Markiplier play one of my games. At the moment that happens, I'm just going to quit because there's nowhere to go from there.
You've already made it to the top.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go from there.
I mean, I'm not saying it will happen, but I mean, you never know what it can happen with.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Have we talked about TikTok on the show yet?
I think briefly last time, very briefly, but
Do
not
you know about
heavily.
my TikTok?
I'm aware of it, but I don't have. I literally just signed up for TikTok yesterday.
Okay, so the reason this game kind of got big on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
because when I first announced it, it was to ask for voice actors. And surprise, a lot of people wanted to be a voice actor in Summerland. I got over 4,000 auditions
Good
just
lord.
from, yeah, it was a lot to go through. But yeah, for that reason, I got like a huge TikTok following after that. I think I'm at like 177K followers.
Good night.
Yeah,
That's
it's a little
incredible.
wild. It's wild. But all of them are like campaigning for Jacksepticeye to play Summerland.
Dude, I hope it happens for you. Dude,
Oh, trust me,
that'd
I
be
do
awesome.
too.
I hope that happens.
No, my TikTok following just shot up from that. I don't know how to maintain that anymore. My content's kind of related to Summerland, and if that falls away, I have to go back to posting jokes.
So was there a particular TikTok that really did it, or was it just
That voice acting one,
okay?
that voice acting one, it got like 3.2 million views, I think.
Good lord.
Yeah, it is crazy. Granted, the TikTok, it's not hard to go viral.
That's what I've
Just
heard.
yeah, because of the way it's set up, it's not
Okay,
like you're searching for a particular video. Stuff just comes up, and if enough people like it, they'll push it to more people.
gotcha.
So a lot of people just ended up liking this one and like boosting it on the algorithm with comments and likes, to where it just got shared with more and more people. Because again, it's a randomized algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I just kind of lucked out with that one. Ton of followers, ton of auditions, a ton of connections.
I was gonna
Um,
say like, cause I remember looking at your Discord, cause I was like the first one in there, and then out of nowhere it just seemed like,
well, that was
oh,
like day one when I
okay,
first announced it.
okay,
It got a ton of people in it. I made a lot of connections with like people who have established themselves on different platforms. I got auditions from people who've worked at Skyrim or at Skyrim on Skyrim.
gosh,
Um,
that's.
a lot of
How do you
internet
turn those
celebrities.
people down? You know?
A lot of internet celebrities. I'm friends with now, which I think is really funny.
Dude, I'm serious. Like, how do you turn some of those people down? Like, that must have been hard.
It hurts. It hurts a little bit.
How did so?
I told you about the Sleeping Lion band.
Hmm.
They have a podcast called Talking Lion, which is actually pretty awesome. I was interviewed on that. Apparently, they know the guy. I don't know how we keep coming back to the Good Place. They know the guy that plays Cheaty on the Good Place. Uh,
Seriously?
they're friends with him, and they were like, "Oh yeah, if he like were doing this now, he'd probably be on it." I was like, "Oh really?"
I mean,
Yeah,
the
I'll have that for
timing.
the game.
Good lord, dude, that I don't. I'm speechless right now. Like, that's incredible.
It, my game development career has kind of taken off really quickly recently,
Hmm.
and I don't know how to react to a lot of it. It's very sudden and kind of terrifying.
How do you? Cause okay, how nervous are you with that many people anticipating Summerland? Like, are you nervous that they might
It's
not?
scary. It's really
Okay,
scary.
yeah.
I've been lucky enough that the fan base I've gathered, I hate saying fans. It feels weird. I don't like that. But the people that have started following me, they're extremely positive. I've even been told that like by people that have seen my content, they're like, your community is like really nice. I have an incredibly non-toxic community, which is awesome to have, and they're super supportive. And I think no matter what I release right now, they're going to be incredibly supportive of it and like understand all the work that went into it, and that it's just me.
Hmm. That's what it blows my mind. Even with Welcome to the Dreamscape, like that still blew my mind. It was just all just you.
Welcome to the Dreamscape was way too ambitious for its own good. I'll admit now.
Like looking
I
back
was
on
doing a
it,
lot with that game that I
yeah,
had no idea how to do. I was kind of throwing every idea I wanted to do at the wall and hoping something worked.
gotcha. Because I remember liking it, not loving it, and thinking like there's potential there. And I feel like not to say Summerland is like your peak, but it's just what Summerland is what I wanted from Welcome to the Dreamscape, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Welcome to Dreamscape, I tried to do a lot. There was like that walking, a lot of it was that walking simulator aspect, right? There
Mm-hmm.
was that narrative that you're going through, but it was also very gameplay heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Platforming, first person platforming, which by the way is never a good idea, and I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah,
First person platforming is always bad, no exceptions.
and it's I will say the only reason it stuck in my mind was that you were like 14 or 15 at the time when you
Yeah,
made it, and I'm like, that's impressive for a kid. Still feels weird to say 15-year-old's a kid, but to me it's a kid.
Also, not to put down my own products, but the Summerland, not Summerland, Welcome to the Dreamscape, the gunplay is bad. Like, I don't think there's a redeeming quality about the gunplay in Welcome to the
Oh,
Dreamscape.
I was gonna mention like it doesn't stick with me other than you were a teenager when you made it. Like nothing stuck to me except that you made it by yourself when you were 15 or 14 or whatever. I
I
can't remember.
still remember your review of Welcome to the Dreamscape, and you saying that you really like the story. And that's what, like, not even exaggerating, that's kind of what pushed me to make a game like this.
Oh, really?
Was was that you saying that?
Yeah, I remember saying something like that.
Okay, I don't remember which one of you exactly did the review. But
I still got
yeah,
the case you gave me, the box
uh-huh.
downstairs in my apartment. I still have it.
Yeah, I thought about doing a physical release of Summerland, but I can't justify it. That was a bad decision also. I shouldn't have made physical copies of Welcome to the Dreamscape. That was so much money.
Oh, really? Well, I guess that makes
That
sense.
was so much money that I did not make back.
Fair enough.
Um,
Fair enough. But
but
I
yeah,
don't.
the you said in your interview, or not your interview, your review,
hmm
that the gameplay was not good, but the story was, I forget like the terms you used, but I think it was very positive that you really liked the storytelling in it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, okay, let's just do that then. Let's strip back the gameplay. Let's improve the visuals because I think
hmm
Summerland is an insane visual improvement over Welcome to the Dreamscape.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think it's. I wouldn't go as far. I can't speak. I would go as far as to say that this is like a jump from an amateur developer to a professional product.
That's what struck me most because most games I play that are that when people use the Unity engine, they look like Welcome to the Dreamscape. Like I have played, I can't tell you, not even for the podcast, but like even outside in my own time, that don't look. I mean, they don't look bad or anything. They just look the
It looks like
same.
Unity.
Yeah, exactly. This
I
didn't have that look to it. I didn't
Yeah,
think.
that was one thing I was combating, and I've had people tell me like this looks really good for Unity. Like this is one of the better Unity games I've seen. Unity's a powerful engine, man,
Yeah,
and a lot of people don't realize that. Unity has a bad rep.
I think the reason why it has a bad rep is because you have so many people trying to cash in,
Hmm.
try and make a quick buck, and like I said, a lot of games just have that same like bland, blocky style,
Yeah.
and they don't put any work into it.
The thing, Unity is an anomaly because it's so accessible.
hmm
Anyone can go on their computer right now. You listening right now, no matter what computer you have, can go to the Unity website and download the engine for free and then start making stuff.
And I can attest to that. Like you can literally just get up and running and have your own world up and running within 30 minutes.
The Unity asset store is insane. It's crazy the type of stuff you can get on there.
hmm
You can basically buy whole games on the asset store.
Yeah, yeah, you could. And I was gonna say like, and it works with other programs as well, like Blender. If you are good at 3D modeling, like it works with Blender.
Yeah, like on the Unity asset store, the what gives Unity the bad rep is people who go on there, download, like they'll buy a $60 like game base,
hmm
like first person shooter base game, download it and then just publish it onto Steam.
Yeah.
That's when Unity gets a bad rep. Another thing they do is that if you don't buy the pro version of Unity, you have to display the Unity logo,
hmm
which which doesn't make sense to me. I feel like Unity would want it the other way around.
I would think so, but I mean,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
like
I think that they
regardless, you
want
should,
like the
because
big studios showing the Unity logo.
and that's like when a game is made from Unity and it's on like say the Switch or something, like you see it like the tiny print at the bottom, like because I guess it has to be there, but you don't ever see it promoted per se.
The like I know there are people that will download an indie game and then since it displays the Unity logo in the beginning, they're like, "Oh, I don't want to play this because it's a Unity game."
It
Summerland uses the free version of Unity and
and
it
it looks
displays
great.
the Unity logo at the beginning. And I think
Yeah.
I've done a pretty awesome job, not to pat myself on the back, but I think I've done a pretty awesome job like pushing this engine to where I can get it.
And there's some like fantastic games. I mean, even if I remember right, I want to say
Like Firewatch.
Firewatch. Yeah, I was about to
Yeah,
say Firewatch
Firewatch
is
was made
made.
with Unity.
Yeah.
Ori and the Blind Forest.
Yep. And that's a
Life is
huge indie.
Strange Before the Storm.
Another big game. Yeah.
There's some crazy games made with Unity, and people just don't realize it because they use the paid version and they don't
Mm-hmm.
have to display the logo.
I mean, I love Unity because you can just sit and mess with it. Like you can make a game out of making a game if you want to, because it's so easy to pick up if you want to mess with it for 5 minutes, or if you don't even have to publish games. You can just sit there and make stuff if you want
Mhm.
to.
And again, the asset store is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I say I hate it when people go to the asset store and like just buy a template and publish it. I'm not saying don't use the asset store. Um, not to call myself out here, but like I use the asset store a lot.
I noticed that because of the credits.
Yeah, the Unity asset store is an awesome tool. I'm not a 3D modeler. I can't 3D model. I've attempted to. I'm very bad at it. If I ever expand the company in the future, that expansion is going to be hiring a 3D modeler. Um, but that's just not something I'm good at. And I use the Unity asset store a lot for that. I will like download a model, and I'm not downloading whole levels.
Mm-hmm.
I will get like a lamp, and I'll get a wall texture, and I'll model what I can out of primitives like cubes, spheres, cylinders, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the buildings and stuff I modeled out of like cubes. And
I
I just
imagine the boxes, the literal
what is
boxes
that?
you see in the evidence
Yeah,
room.
literal boxes. And I use like Unity textures like on the wall. I change colors on them. I'll edit the normal maps. But there's a lot of Unity assets at use, and I don't think you notice it when you play the game.
I don't think so because they all fit the art style of the game and nothing looks out of place.
That was a goal. The goal. There's a difference between like making a game out of the assets you have and finding the assets to fit your game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I really attempted to do. Like I would look for days to find like I don't know, a chair. There's like a certain chair I want to put in my game. I
Mm-hmm.
will search endlessly online, Unity Asset Store, Turbo Squid, Sketchfab, looking for a royalty-free 3D model I could use for that kind of chair because I want it to fit the game. I'm working with what I have, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I no, not at all. I
I again, there is a problem if you're like stealing assets
mm-hmm.
or having this totally unoriginal work that you're putting up to for people to pay for. Nintendo Switch had that problem for a bit.
Yeah.
Like you always hear about it with Steam, people being uploading like these template games to Steam, but it happened with Switch a lot too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Nintendo went from being a hard platform to get your game on to being, well, from what I've heard from many developers, that they're super accessible now.
I think consoles went a bit off the deep end when it came to indie accessibility. Like they were like this like unattainable high ground at one point. You
Mm-hmm.
could not get your game on console.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, we'll fix that." And I think they went too far in the other direction.
I could definitely see that because I mean you don't realize it, but because I play on Xbox the most out of all the consoles. That's just because where my friends are. Even though I own them all, but when you go to, and it doesn't even matter the platform, you go to the game store and you go like new releases, like you don't realize they have the same problem that Steam has. It's just
PlayStation
everything.
is bad.
I've heard PlayStation is the worst for indie developers because of they don't promote games very often over there for indie
Well,
games.
the games that do get on there, do you remember Life of Black Tiger?
Mm-mm.
That was like a big thing that happened. They let this game on, which was like free on Android.
Mm-hmm.
The developer was charging like $20 on PlayStation.
What?
Yeah, and PlayStation put the trailer on their official YouTube channel.
Wow.
And it's if you have the ability to, like right now, go on YouTube and look up the Life of Black Tiger trailer.
Okay.
And I would like to see your reaction to this. I'm pretty sure it's still on the Sony YouTube channel.
Life of what?
Life of Black Tiger.
Okay. So I was gonna say there was a before I click on this, there's another indie developer called they made the game Descenders. Fantastic game. I think it's still available on Xbox Game Pass, and they talked about their experience between Xbox Game Pass and just getting on the PlayStation Store. They said the PlayStation Store literally buried their game on day of release, and because it was on Xbox Game Pass, they said they did very well over there. I'm
Yeah,
not
I can
saying
see that
that,
happening.
not saying that Xbox is better than PlayStation in this regards, or like it's a better console platform. Just different experiences, same game, and it
Yeah.
was just interesting.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, I'm all for PlayStation. I,
yeah,
I prefer PlayStation over Xbox, but I will admit that they're not the best when it comes to indie games.
and um, oh my,
Yeah, is this on the PlayStation YouTube channel?
yes,
So they never took it down. That's really funny.
no, it's
It's been
still
like
there
over a year, I'm sure.
with over 70,000 dislikes right now.
Uh-huh. When was it uploaded?
January 12th, 2017.
Yeah, okay.
When you talk
Still
about
costs like $20 on the PlayStation Store.
how,
And they've done this with like a few other games that were about this quality and like heavily promoted them on the YouTube channel. I don't know what was going on. They never addressed it.
any one of like I'm serious. Any one of us could have made this game because it's
Again, it was
not
free on Android.
good. It's but you pay $20.
I think it was $20. It may have been more.
Oh, that's not good. It
I don't know,
says
that
it's
stuff's
rated
really
M, but
funny to
there's
me.
no way that could be a rated M game. I mean, I don't know. I haven't played it.
Yeah, I was trying to get Summerland rated by the ESRB, which used to be really easy.
What is it like now?
So Welcome to Dreamscape did have an ESRB rating,
I did notice that. Yeah.
and I was able to do that pretty easily. So they had this system where developers could go on, fill out a survey about the content of their game, and if it was like a digital only release, they would just let you do it for free,
Oh.
and you get this official ESRB rating. They've revoked that, and now it costs like $1,500.
Oh my gosh.
And they don't tell you that up front because I went to fill it out and I filled out this whole like detailed survey of all of the content in Summerland, and then I hit submit, and then they gave me this like pop-up box that was like, "All right, enter in your credit card information." It's like, oh, never
Good
mind.
lord. If I were to rate it, anyone out there listening, it'd probably be rated T for teen.
It's like a weird middle ground
Yeah.
of like T and M.
I'm. It upsets me that we don't have anything between T and M because we have so many games that would fit in that.
Mhm. There's an issue with movies like that too,
Yeah,
like The
absolutely.
Dark Knight.
Yeah, it's
Dark Knight's a dark movie.
it's very dark.
That could be rated R. I wouldn't be surprised if that was juggled around.
I'm trying to remember if it was or wasn't because I remember when it came out. There's a lot of controversy about it.
Yeah, we're
That's
talking
all I
about the one
remember.
with Joker, right?
Yep.
Yeah, no, that it was rated PG-13,
Yeah,
but
but
the like, I don't know. I think I disagree with a PG-13 rating on that movie.
it's dark. Yeah, it's very
It's a
dark.
dark movie. There are parts in that I'm like, oh, they really did that.
It's there are some movies that you can tell try and get away with it if that makes sense.
Yeah, but Summerland's in a weird middle ground. It's in a Dark Knight middle ground.
Because there is some cursing in it, so it's not exactly
Yeah.
like, but there's not heavy cursing in it either.
No, it's T-rated cursing,
Yeah.
but it also like at one point shows a pile of cocaine. So I don't,
Yes. This
I
is
don't know where
true.
that lands with the ESRB.
This is very true. I
There's like a very graphic crime scene at one point, but with glowy people. So
yeah, that too. That too. That was so. That's something I wanted to mention in my review, and I forgot.
okay,
Um, Anyone out there listening that wants to make a game, play to your strengths because Connor, I can tell that's what you did with Summerland, and it works. I'm
thank you.
glad you did not try to model so many people because that would have been a pain for you to do. But you
I
had
also think my data would look awful.
fair enough. But I was gonna say like you did it in a way that was clever, and also I didn't question it. Because I knew immediately what was going on.
For one, I think it gave its. For those of you who haven't seen screenshots or videos or played Summerland or anything, all of the people are portrayed in these like orbs of light. These like different particles that shape a human being.
Hmm.
That came very heavily from the game Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
Okay.
you've ever played that, that's pretty much how they portray people in that, a bit more abstractly. But if generally that's how they do it. I wanted to do that because one, I think it'd give Summerland a definitive visual style. I
Mm-hmm.
think it would be interesting, more interesting than just character models. I think if I were to do character models, it would not look as professional
Mm-hmm.
because I alone would have to animate them,
Yep.
model them, make them look unique, and I think that would honestly cheapen the look because I am just one guy. I don't think it'd be a professional quality thing.
Mm-hmm.
And matching the amateur animations with this awesome voice acting, I think you notice the animation more than you would the actual dialogue. Uh,
Absolutely.
and plus, it was it was easier. And I'm not trying to say I was being lazy with it, but it was definitely something that made the development process easier, and I'm glad I did it. And I think it actually pays off more than if I were to do just people.
Yeah, definitely. Because when playing through the game, because he's Matthew's experiencing this afterlife, and he's kind of reliving each memory. I thought like that's actually quite brilliant to make the people glow like that because it's a memory. It's literally
Yeah,
reliving a memory. So I thought it was just clever, and I'm like, I knew what
and
you were doing, but yeah,
the colors are meant to represent like how he viewed that person
I could see that too because I
in
noticed
the past.
Evelyn was the same color as all the other officers, if I remember right.
Evelyn, no, well, no, Evelyn
Is
was
she not?
blue, and then the
Was
other
she?
officers were
Or
yellow.
yellow? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah,
wrong. But then
no, it's fine. It's fine.
but Charlie was red, and that stood out to
Yeah.
me.
So the blue characters, which was the baby and Evelyn,
Mm-hmm.
are meant to be more like fondness,
Mm-hmm.
like remembered well. The yellow people were more passive, didn't know much about, were just kind of in the background of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And red was like a more negative connotation with that person.
Smart. That
It
was
doesn't
smart.
really go much deeper than that.
I mean, I picked up on it. Like I apologize, Evelyn. I got that wrong because I could have.
No, no worries, no worries.
I just remember Charlie being red, and I definitely
Mhm.
remember. I remember the baby being blue, for sure, because he's a bright blue, and
Yeah.
he's in your face more than
And I
once.
wanted that to be a bit more intense because obviously Matthew likes his child more than Evelyn.
Yes, like, that's probably why that stood out to me more than Evelyn.
Yeah. And then Charlie is red. I feel like I had something else I wanted to add to that. I can't remember what it was.
I was just.
I talked about this in another interview, like Matthew and Evelyn's like friendship in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, someone pointed out that they really liked it because it wasn't like a stereotypical like old cop and new rookie
Mm-hmm.
dynamic. It was like a very like friendly relationship that they had.
And he didn't treat her like, I don't know, the way an older person would treat a younger person, like, oh,
No.
you haven't seen nothing yet. Like, he treated her like an equal, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, I wrote them to not be the stereotype because I was kind of afraid of that because I knew I was going to make this character like the old detective who's like I'm getting too old for this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I think I put that in the audition for the game was I want that type of voice without the attitude of it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted Matthew to be a friendly guy. I wanted him and Evelyn to have like a good friendship. They got along well. They could joke. Um, and that he didn't look down on her and she kind of looked up to him as like a mentor almost,
Mm-hmm.
which makes a lot of the other parts of the game kind of heartbreaking, but
Absolutely. And then there's even not spoiling anything, but when you're in the bar and I'm
yeah.
like, dude, you're doing this right in front of Evelyn? Are you serious?
And that's treated more in a way of he doesn't think she'll know
Mm-hmm.
because she is new
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't know much about it, but that's not the case. He underestimates her,
Mm-hmm.
which comes back later.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just that I feel like whenever someone is in the position Matthew's in, they seem to overestimate their own abilities and underestimating those around them and hoping that people don't notice. But it and it shows that even though Evelyn and Matthew may not have known each other long, she still picked up on he wasn't acting like the way he should have been.
That's another stereotype I wanted to break with Evelyn because you always see these like cop shows where there's the rookie that doesn't know what he's doing and is like
Mm-hmm.
all new to this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I wanted Evelyn to like know what she was about. and like kind of understand what was going on. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want her to be naive to anything. She was like understanding of the crime scenes and what was going on. She offered suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when she says like if you have a UV light, that's kind of a little thing to me that signifies like, oh, she kind of knows what she's talking about.
Mm-hmm. And then even in that same level, like at the end, Matthew's trying to get out. And he's like, "Well," she's like, "Well, I could double check things." He's like, "No, no, you're fine. I didn't find
Yeah,
anything."
yeah, and I keep bringing it back. Like I wrote it like this. I don't mean to like force my own view of it onto you, but like I wrote that in a way that I wanted her to sound more not okay with everything as
Mm-hmm.
the game went.
And you picked up
E-
on it through her voice because that's an incredible job on her
every
part.
scene, I wanted her voice to be a little less confident in Matthew, a little more skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
And like the bar you mentioned, she almost sounds like ashamed
Yeah, yeah, like
because you
even
could kind of, again, not to spoil anything, but you can kind of pick up that at that moment she knows what's happening.
yeah, I
Like
agree
at
because
the end of that level,
it's her voice inflection does such a good job at
she does
conveying
awesome.
what she's
Natalie Van
thinking.
Christine
Okay. Oh,
is the
Natalie
voice
does a
actor.
great job at really inflecting what Evelyn is
Hmm.
feeling. It like I don't, even though you don't have a literal character model and it's just glowing orbs, you can still pick up on it.
Yeah. She did an awesome job. All the voice actors did an awesome job. I'm like so happy with the cast I got for this.
I can't wait for people to enjoy it. Like when this goes live, it'll only be a few days, like 4 days before it drops or something like that, 4 or 5 days.
How long have we been talking for?
Almost an hour and a half. I was actually going to
Oh
wrap
wow.
things up now because this is one
All
of
right.
the
That's,
longer interviews we've done, for
oh
sure.
yeah.
Not
I
speaking in a bad
apologize.
way. No, you're good. I was
Well,
going to say
thanks.
like you're. It's easy to talk to, especially when you have something like Summerland coming up. And I feel like if anyone is interested,
I don't know. I think it's
they'll
good.
listen to the whole thing. Because you
I'm
definitely
really
have
glad
a
you like the game. Though. That means a lot.
absolutely loved it.
And
If
your reviews on the Steam page, by the
oh,
way.
thank you. I saw that. Thank you very much. That
Yeah.
means a lot to me. Because I don't do a whole lot of written reviews very often because it's usually either on the show or on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I should probably write this one out only because. So I did something a friend of mine who's a gaming journalist that he does. He says he has not a notebook anymore. He has his phone nearby and he writes notes as he plays the game. And that's what I did. I just wrote down notes as I played the game,
Yeah.
and then it went into the final review.
Yeah. The also just the way Steam works in the Steam page, it links to your website. It links to Real Dudes.
Oh, sweet! Thank you
If
very
you like
much.
click on the review, yeah.
Hey, anyone out there listening, you can check out the review either on the YouTube channel, audio version, and then it's also on our website as well.
Uh, but I'm so glad you liked the game as much as you did. That means a lot, especially coming from your review of Welcome to the Dreamscape and how much of a score improvement that was.
It was a huge jump. Like, if anyone's out there listening, I gave Dreamscape, I want to say it was like a 6 or
Yeah, it was
6.5.
a six.
Okay, and then I won't say the name of
It
the
stuck
score
with
here
me.
because you can go out and check the interview and see what I scored Summerland, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've like I said, I've already started recommending it to friends because a guy just,
Awesome.
I have a good friend of mine. He's coming over in a couple days. He's like, "Hey, you got any games for me?" I'm like, "Yep, it's not out yet, but look out for Summerland." And I sent them the trailer on your YouTube channel for Summerland.
Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
again, the hint function's in now. I added the hint thing. You could check it out if you want.
Yes,
Not saying you have to play through the whole thing again, but like it's there in the first level.
I might do it just to experience it. Because yeah, that was like, because you like fixed a lot of the negative things I had about the game.
Yeah, I felt like I was ruining your article.
It's all right. Like it's a good thing though because it's not out yet. So you're more than welcome to make as many changes. It's your product. You can make changes afterwards. It's your
Yeah, the
baby at
game's
this
gonna come
point.
out and you're gonna play it and it's gonna be like entirely different. Like when
I,
this become a first-person shooter, I'm
Because I was gonna like I can't tell
survival
you.
elements.
I can't tell you how many times I've played What Remains of Edith Finch, even though I already know what's gonna happen. Like, so I have
Yeah,
no problem playing through Summerland multiple times either.
you're gonna like play the final one. It's gonna have like a stamina bar and
Yeah,
like a burst meter
it's gonna
and
become
quick
a
time
survival
events.
game, a quick time events, and it'll be open world.
Yeah, it's an open world survival game, and it's just an entirely different game. Not the same characters, different story.
And I thought Connor said he wasn't gonna change it.
No, what you're gonna play like after this interview? I maybe if you want to. It's not a big
Hmm.
deal. It's pretty much the same game. It's pretty much the final product
Okay.
with the hint system and everything added.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah,
Well, Connor, it's been real. I
yeah,
enjoyed
real
talking to you
dude.
again, and I can't wait for your next product, man. Your next
Thank you so
project,
much.
whatever it
And
may
thank you
be.
for having me on.
You're
By the
very
way,
welcome. When you say you want to come
and
on right before the game dropped, I'm like, yeah, sure, absolutely. Because
yeah, you invited me back. You said
yeah.
like during our first interview, like I'd love to have you back, and I was like, heck yeah, it was awesome.
And I hope, I wish you and Summerland well. I'll be keeping my eye out, and maybe you'll see real dudes on TikTok soon. Who knows?
I'll definitely throw you a follow.
All right, man. You have a good one, and stay safe
Yeah,
and
you
stay
too.
healthy.